luz y progreso y gracia a la misericordia. This is Sancista Brujo Luis, and I'm doing a video today because I often get messages or emails from my followers, and they want to know about a word that I use when I'm describing Espiritismo or something about Espiritismo. And first of all, I would like to apologize to my non-speaking Spanish followers, but when I do describe something, I do use the Spanish terminology. So I said, that would be a great video to do. And of course, it will be on terms or terminology that you will hear in a Puerto Rican Espiritismo family, or in Cuba, or maybe in Venezuela. And it's going to be about Espiritismo. I'm not going to really include terminology from other traditions, other religions. I'm going to use basically words that you will hear in a templo or a centro espiritual. I'm not going to be able to say them all, so to my Latino or my Hispanic followers who work Espiritismo, if there's a term or a word that I didn't describe, please leave a comment down below and share it and leave a comment of what it means. So let's just start the video, because I'm rambling on and I'm really sorry. The first one is El Ataque, and if you're Puerto Rican, you know what El Ataque is. And I'm just going to read what I wrote down. But El Ataque is caused by an unseen evil intention, envy, and malicious thought directed towards a person who is not spiritually protected, or when a person is going through a highly stressful situation. This is known as un ataque. Ahijado or Ahijada. Ahijado is a godson, while Ahijada is a goddaughter. Ancestros or Antepasados. Ancestros and Antepasados are your ancestors, your blood lineage. This is your ancestros or your Antepasados. Bajar or Bajando. When we use the word Bajando or Bajar is when a spirit guide or a santo is going to come down and manifest through the physical body within a misa or a sesión espiritual. This is where bajando los seres, bajando un ángel de la guardia, and it's taking the physical, it's coming down. It's called bajando or bajar, I'm sorry. A bajon or un bajon. Un bajon is when you un empático or an empath, when you walk into a room and you feel the negative vibrations and you feel your energy just goes down. This is called bajon or bajando. It is also used when someone is physically absorbing your energy. A psychic vampire is absorbing your energy y tú te estás bajando. You feel that energy. Tú sientes un bajón. This is el bajón. Okay, this is what we call that. La Baraja Española. La Baraja Española is the deck that we often use to do spiritual consultation. This is a version of La Baraja Española, and that's what we use mostly to do consultation. La Boveda or Boveda Espiritual. La Boveda Espiritual literally means a vault, and it is borrowed from the Cuban Espiritismo Cruzado tradition, and now a lot of traditions are using the word Boveda Espiritual, but it's that altar that is dedicated to one spirit guides with all the goblets. This is known as La Boveda or La Boveda Espiritual. Brujeria. Brujeria, simple, witchcraft. Cadena Espiritual. Cadena Espiritual, there's two ways you can describe Cadena Espiritual. Cadena Espiritual is gifts that you may have that is passed down to you from a grandmother or a grandfather, and they pass down their dones, their facultades, their medium mystic abilities. This is called a cadena espiritual. And the term that I wrote what it means also. It says a spiritual link that is passed down from an ancestor who also worked the spirits. The ancestor spirit secures their legacy or abilities to a descendant. This is called una cadena espiritual. It is also used to, when we hold hands, we do a cadena espiritual to close a ceremony or a ceremony or a misa or sesión and we hold hands, we make a cadena espiritual to say the prayers in a templo or a centro espiritual. A caballo, which means a horse. A caballo is when a santo or an ángel de la guardia comes and it manifests physically through the physical body of a media unidad. You will often hear them say el caballo this or el caballo that. They're riding el caballo, están montados en el caballo. They're using the physical body, and they often use the term caballo. Caridad or obra de caridad. Obra de caridad is simple. It's doing acts of charity, giving freely of yourself. Is obra de caridad or la caridad. Casa espiritual. Casa espiritual is your spiritual lineage, your group, your family, the ones that are closest to you. That is your casa espiritual. Casilla. While a caballo is what a santo or an ángel de la guardia would use when they're using the body, they're mounting the body. The word casilla is used when it's a spirit guide, when it is an ancestor. They use the term la casilla for the material body when they're using it, en una sesión o una velada espiritual. A causa. A causa is a spiritually caused discomfort, ailment, or disease caused by sorcery, a lower level spirit, or a past life karma. This is called una causa. El centro. El centro is a spiritual center where we gather to pray, to spiritually work. Espiritismo. It's known as a centro. It's often a small location. If it's around 20 people or so. It's a small, it's basically where the family practices. This is called un centro. Choque or un choque. There's two ways you can describe choque. Choque is when a negative spirit tries to physically grab you and you feel your body like jolt. This is called un choque or un choque espiritual. Also, the word choque can be used when my cuadro espiritual does not get along with another person's spirit. Los cuadros chocan. There's un choque in between us. They just do not get along. And that is called un choque. Círculo de oración. Círculo de oración is a circle of prayer, a prayer circle. And, we gather around, we say, vamos a hacer un círculo de oración. Let's gather around in a circle to pray. Clave espiritual. Clave espiritual there's two ways you can use for clave espiritual. It is automatic writing, or there are some media unidades, mediums, that have the ability to see a spirit and they can draw the spirit. This is called la clave espiritual. Comprobado. And comprobado is an affirmation by the congregation to a medium's correct divining of a causa. This is called comprobado. Consulta. Consulta is a spiritual consultation with a deck, tabaco, water gazing, crystal ball, reading the palm. This is called una consulta or consulta espiritual. Traditionally, it is with la Baraja Española. And some use also a tarot deck. This is when we spiritually consult you. Cordón or cordón espiritual. Cordón espiritual is the spiritual cord between the physical realm and the spiritual realm. Is that cord, that spiritual cord that connects your spirit to the material body. That is known as a cordón espiritual. Corriente or spiritual currents or vibrations, such as the electrical currents that happens when a medium senses or feels the world of the spirits. You feel ese corriente espiritual when there's a spirit. You feel it behind your back. You feel that electricity, that tingling. That is called los corrientes. Cruzado. Cruzado means to be hexed, crossed, or black magic. A hex, a cross condition, or a spell, black magic. You're being hexed. Te están cruzando. They're crossing your pathway so you can't move here, there. You're crossed. Eso es cruzado. cuadro or cuadro espiritual. It's individual's spiritual frame. A group of spirit guides, they make up a person's protective auric field of spirits. We all have a group of spirit that protects not just the physical body, but the auric layers of a person's body. And this is known as the cuadro espiritual. Daño or un daño. A daño is a harm to a person caused by magical forces and occult enemies. This is called un daño or un daño, sorry. Darle luz, to give light to a spirit, especially if it's a spirit of an earthbound spirit, a spirit that needs light. We try to give it darle luz because it's in a realm of darkness. So we often say darle luz. Despojo. Despojo is a spiritual bath made of herbs, flowers, roots, oils, salts, perfumes, and it's to help alleviate spiritual discomfort, and not just to cleanse the physical body. That's what a physical bath is with soap, but a despojo is to cleanse and purify the auric layers, the emotional, the etheric, and it's also, a despojo also helps to unblock some of the chakras, and this is called un despojo, a spiritual cleansing. It is also used, despojándote, to spiritually cleanse yourself. It's not necessarily always has to do with a bath, but it also can mean to spiritually cleanse yourself. Despojate, cleanse yourself. You know, just pass your hands through your body. Tú te estás haciendo un despojo espiritual. Dones. Dones means spiritual gifts that one is born with or grows into. This is known as dones. Entidades. Entidades means entities. Escalera espiritual or escala espiritual. An escala espiritual is a spiritual ladder a spirit must take before becoming an enlightened soul or an enlightened, elevated spirit. So we start here at the lowest level of la escala espiritual, and our object is to keep going higher until complete elevation. This is called la escala espiritual or la escalera espiritual. La escuela espiritual is the spiritual, very basically the spiritual school where we send uneducated spirits, where our spirit guides come and take that uneducated spirit to educate it. This is known as una escuela espiritual. Ensalao or salar means to curse or to be cursed, to be under a spiritual or a psychic attack. You are ensalao. Espíritus de existencia. Espíritus de existencias can be specters, ghosts, apparitions, or even like a poltergeist. Evidencias. Evidencias are evidences given to a medium that could not be known by a medium to a client, to let the client know that they have contacted or are making contact with the spiritual world. So when I'm sitting down with a client, I give them evidencia and something that I might not know about this person. This is giving the person evidencias. Facultades. Similar to dones, facultades are spiritual gifts or abilities to communicate with the spiritual world. Spiritual faculties, facultades. Faro de luz. Espiritistas are often known as faros de luz, which means a lighthouse. We are viewed as sometimes lower level spirits live in a world of darkness, and they see our auras as light. If a spiritista works of pure of goodness of the heart, they become a faro de luz to these darkened spirits to try to lead it to the light. We call that faro de luz. Fluido espirituales o fluido, spiritual fluids, water in the fuentes, and also used to describe the water the spirits use to receive energies. This is los fluidos. That water right there is los fluidos. While right there, I don't know if you can see it, those bubbles, those are called burbujitas or burbujas. Okay? This is caused by los corrientes espirituales. The glass itself is called un fuente or un fuente espiritual. Guía principal. Guía principal is your principal spirit guide. This is known as el guía principal, your principal spirit guide. Guías. Guías are spirits that are part of your cuadro espiritual, and they can come from various levels We have guías for everything. We have an artistic guía, a healer guía, a guía that may help us music, write, communicate, help us heal, help us learn about herbs. That is what we call a guía or a guía espiritual. Labor or laborando espiritual, to do the spiritual labor. It is also known as trabajando espiritual, working espiritualmente, working the spiritual. Laborando, which is labor, or spiritual labor, which is what we do when we're working for a client, and trabajando is to spiritually work. Luz. Luz means light, literally light. And it's also an affirmation. Let's say I'm giving a client evidencias, and the client knows that what I'm saying or what my spirits are saying is true to the person. The person often says luz. Luz para tus espíritu, light. It's an affirmation that yes, I agree with what you're saying. Luz y progreso is one of the basic salutations that we use in Puerto Rican Espiritismo or Espiritismo, and it means light and progress. It's one of the most basics of salutations. Madrina or padrino. Madrina is the godmother, while padrino is your godfather. Manifestación means manifestation of a spirit. Doesn't necessarily have to be a spirit of a person's cuadro espiritual. It could be an apparition. Apparition se está manifestando. You can feel that manifestation. That is called la manifestación. La materia. La materia is the tangible aspect of the body, the flesh. That gross material that encases the spirit and the soul is known as la materia. Media unidad or mediumnidad. Media unidad is how we say it in Puerto Rico. A lot of Puerto Ricans say media unidad, which is a broken down Puerto Rican way of saying mediumnidad or mediumnidad, which is a medium, a spiritual channeler, a spiritual medium. Mesa Blanca. Mesa Blanca is the white altar that we use not necessarily to honor spirits, but to work, laborar espiritualmente, trabajar espiritualmente. That is what we call la Mesa Blanca. It is also a tradition of el Espiritismo called la Mesa Blanca. Misa Espiritual. Misa Espiritual is a spiritual mass. Montado or to montar, voy a montar, or se me va a montar, is having a higher spirit of one's cuadro ride a person. So often un santo o un guía, un santo o un ángel monta al caballo. He mounts the horse. We never use the word posesión. Posesión is to be possessed. That is when it's a lower level spirit and is taking your materia without permission. That is like a form of a spiritual rape for us. So montado or to montar un espíritu is when we go into a misa or a sesión and we are receptive to letting a spirit use our body to manifest, while a posesión is we don't want it to happen and it spiritually just takes over. It rapes us, and usually it's a lower level spirit that does possession. And this is only in Espiritismo. I'm not talking about other traditions, but montado or posesión. Muerto. Muerto are the dead. It could be any spirit. It could be the spirits in the cemetery, spirits of the nature. Anything that's not alive is a muerto. Muerto en cabeza. Muerto en cabeza is when you have a spirit on you at that moment and you are acting like that spirit. You have el muerto en cabeza or el guía en cabeza. El guía, your guide, is on your head. It's using you to speak, to talk. It's using your motor skills to act as it would act in life. Muerto de causa. Muerto de causa is a lower level spirit that causes discomfort. It causes nervousness, anxiousness, and it's often sent to a person either by a necromancer, a muertero, or it could attach itself to a person when a person goes to places that he or she should not go to. Or a muerto de causa could be a spirit that followed that person from a past life. Sometimes it could be a karmic, thing, but that's what we call un muerto de causa. Pases. Pases are hand gestures that we use that are similar to Reiki. And when we use pases, we go through the aura of the individual, the emotional, the etheric, and all that, and we do the pases, and we try to find cool and hot areas of the body. This is where we know where we need to focus on helping the person heal. So when it's cool, we know that the chakra or the energy of the chakra is cool. When it's hot, when we feel the hotness, we know that there's energy stuck there. And this is where we need to help the individual, where we need to help heal. Curar espiritualmente. This is known as pases, which is similar to Reiki. Presidente de mesa. Presidente de mesa is the head medium of a templo or a centro espiritual. A presidente de mesa is the master of ceremonies. He or she knows all the prayers, knows all the spirits by the way they act. If it's a lower level spirit, it's a higher level spirit. Un presidente de mesa should have an extensive knowledge of herbs, of healing abilities, of facultades, dones. A presidente de mesa should know all the prayers, basically where to find all the prayers in case, for any situation. This is known as el presidente de mesa, and it can be male as it can be female. There's no gender role in Espiritismo. Females are just as well powerful mediunidades as males are, and many times just as powerful. Next to the presidente de mesa is la mediunidad de mano derecha. The right hand, I don't want to say man, but the right hand man, it's the medium with the second most knowledge, or just as knowledgeable as el presidente de mesa or la presidente de mesa. And usually the mediunidad de mano derecha, the right hand man or the right hand woman, is the medium that first mounts a spirit. Next to the mediunidad de mano derecha, there's other mediums of other degrees of desarrollo. Desarrollo means spiritual development. Okay, desarrollo. Or desarrollar espiritualmente means how to develop spiritually. Desarrollo o desarrollar. Sorry. Protectores. Protectores are spirit guides that protect a person. These are your protectores. Sent to a person by God. And protectores are usually always with you from birth to the ending of life. They're with you always. And these are known as protectores. Protecciones are amulets or collares. Collares are those beaded things for la siete potencia or a spirit guide. In your cuadro espiritual, we call these collares. Collare means like a necklace. We call those protecciones. They're amulets or talismans used to protect a person. Those are called protecciones. El público is the public, the people who come to the centros or the templos to have a causa lifted, to have spiritual work. These people that don't necessarily have mediumistic abilities are known as el público. Sala de consulta. Sala de consulta is a room where you use to spiritually consult clients. This is known as la sala de consulta. Sentado or sentado en la mesa. This is a term used to mean to do the spiritual work. One often hears a spirit say, Te quiero sentado o montado o sentado en la mesa means that you're going to work the table, trabajar la mesa. Sorry, I got a little lost there. But sentado means to work the table, trabajar la mesa espiritual, to work spiritually, spiritismo. Sentado is to be seated at the table where the presidente de mesa is, en la media unidad de mano derecha is. You're going to be sentado. As you go desarrollando, your seat gets closer and closer and closer. That's sentado o trabajando la mesa espiritual. Tablea espiritual. Tablea espiritual is that altar that is used to put statues of las madamas, los congos, los indios, los jarabes. This is called a tablea espiritual. Other people use the word tablea espiritual for, it looks like steps, and you have your higher spirit guides or your higher saints in a higher level, and then other ones going down those steps. This is called una tablea espiritual. It's an altar that has steps. Okay? Un templo espiritual is similar to a centro, but a centro is smaller, while a templo is a big organization. It's a big building dedicated to espiritismo, to spiritual healing, to psychic development. This is called un templo espiritual. It's like a church. It's a really big building, and it's often for espiritismo. Transmisión espiritual. Transmisión espiritual is when a spirit uses a media unidad's body to foretell future events. This is known as la transmisión espiritual. When a spirit uses la media unidad to foretell future events for a client, okay? Por un cliente or for a person en el público. We don't use the word client as much. We use the word público, especially in a centro or in a templo. Pruebas. Pruebas are spiritual trials and tribulations we all will go through. All the masters who have lived, who are in written historical works, have gone through their own pruebas. These are trials and tribulations that we all must go for spiritual growth, awakening, and enlightenment. This is called pruebas. Santuario. Santuario is the room where you keep your altars. This is known as el santuario. Saumerio. Saumerio is incense or smoke to use to purify, to cleanse not the physical body, but the auric layers of a spiritual person's body. And it's also used to cleanse and purify a home, a location, an area. This is called un saumerio, which is like incense. Sesión. Sesión is like a seance. It's a smaller group where 2 or 3 or 4 individuals sit around a table, una mesa, to communicate with el mundo espiritual. This is known as a sesión. Seres. Seres are beings often lower in level. Does not necessarily mean that they are lower level spirits. They're just, seres are closer to us in the sense that we have spirits of different ranks, and the seres are the ones that are the most closest to us, the ones that know us the most because they're always around us. Those are seres, and they're usually spirits that had passed away not that long ago. They were in materia. They could have been in materia. Materia means the physical body. They could have had a physical life 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 300 years ago, 400 years ago, but they're still close to us, and they're still elevating, spiritually. A trauma. Trauma is a susto. It's like soul loss. Okay, we use the word in Puerto Rico, we use the word un trauma espiritual. Estás sufriendo un trauma. You're suffering a trauma, which is similar to, in Mexico, they use the word susto, which is shamanism, is soul loss. And the last one is la velada espiritual. La velada espiritual is a spiritual vigil we mediums do to help trabajar la causa for clients, to help people who are being psychically attacked, spiritually attacked by malignant forces, by witchcraft, brujeria. We do veladas to help alleviate the person, to help send these spirits, the causas, into the light, to help the spirit let us know why it's physically attached to the person. Is it witchcraft? Is it karma? Is it past life? Whatever it may be. This is what we call a velada espiritual. Well, anyways, I'm sure this is getting to be a long video, so I'm going to cut this short. I just want to say, if I miss anything, for any espiritistas that know of any terms that I didn't use, please leave it down below. I really appreciate you guys all like this channel. This is much love, much respect from me to you all. Santo Sanse, and you all have a great night. Sancista Brujo Luis.